Call this meeting of the Cartersville City Council to order. We'll begin with an invocation by Councilman Tonsmeyer, followed by the pledge by Councilwoman Pruitt. If you'll please stand with me.
Let us pray. Gracious God, who has created us in your image and to live in community, have given us the responsibility to plan well for this community and the life we share together. Guide us as we meet together. Give us your wisdom. The decisions we make may be fair and just for all. Reflect glory to your name. For it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Keeling, the roll, please.
Carrie Hodge, Ward 1. Here. Jay Stepp, Ward 2. Here. Louis Tonsmeyer, Ward 3.
Here.
Lindsay McDaniel, Ward 4.
Here.
Diane Tate, Ward 5. Here. Lori Pruitt, Ward 6. Here.
Thank you, Connie. First order of business is the approval of our council meeting minutes from May 19th. Chair will take any edits, additions, or otherwise motions.
Okay. Mayor, didn't see any additions or corrections. Make a motion to approve.
Second that.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And minutes are approved. We have a series of first readings this evening, and the first of which will be handled by Mr. Menino.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you're aware, the city of Cartersville is required to submit a new ward map based on the 2010 census. And with that, there was population distribution that had changed based on the census tracts and blocks. With that, we're required to amend the city charter if we amend the actual the ward map for the city. The map is basically the same. There were some changes to some census tracts and blocks, which actually changed some of the boundaries, and there was one area along Old Mill Road where some population was switched from one ward to another to even out. All the wards have approximately 3,300 people in them. With that, the data that was compiled complies with the Justice Department requirements, and additionally, the 1965 Voting Rights Act. And with that, we recommend your approval of amending the charter regarding ward redistricting.
Okay. Any questions for Randy?
I don't have a question for Randy, but you just said something that kind of jogged my mind. When we go through this process of changing these, how do folks know when they're going from one ward to another? And it might be a legal question. I don't know.
I can refer to the city clerk. It's through the voter registration office, which I believe is a county office. Once a ward map is adopted, then those people will have to be notified of the change for voting purposes. This is on a time frame. It's been advertised. I think the second public hearing will be in 2 weeks from now. Trying to get it back from the Department of Justice by August 25th. If that occurs, the new ward maps will be in effect for the November election. So after August 25th, the voter registration office will get the information. And
we furnish it to them?
Yes.
Okay.
And is there any way to get this map on the internet, on our website?
Rebecca, can we take a look at putting this on the internet?
Yes, I do have digital copies of it, and we can get it put online.
Thank you, sir.
The two maps I have here today, one actually shows the changes. It's probably a lot easier to look at the map up close to see what changes are actually occurring, and the other map is the actual ward map, how it is proposed. Again, there are minor changes. They're based on the census tracts and blocks in existing form, and they were amended based on population distribution in small places. Additionally, they have to take certain other things into consideration. They don't want to redistrict ward council members out of their existing ward, so they have to take that into consideration. They also have to take into consideration certain communities that they don't want to bust up and so forth. all those things were taken into consideration in review of the map.
Okay.
Everything seems to be in compliance with the Justice Department requirements.
Okay.
Mayor, Mr. Grove just made me think of something else. The people who the award is changed, they don't know about that until the election, do they? I mean,
No,
there's no,
they'll get a letter from the clerk from the elections office.
but not until closer to the election time. They don't know about it.
No.
It
No.
would be after we get notification from the state that it's been accepted.
So it could be sometime in October, elections in November.
I would think it would probably go out sometime in September.
Oh, okay.
See, we have to file that with the U.S. Justice Department on the Voting Rights Act. And then they review it, and they, no doubt, will probably approve it, but if they don't, then it does not go into effect. And we would use the old map
That is correct.
at the next election, and then have to do whatever we have to do with the Justice Department to get it approved. But I don't see any reason they wouldn't approve this.
We're required to get pre-clearance from the Justice Department, and we need that back by August 28th to make this next election cycle. If not, as Mr. Archer had said, we'll use the previous maps for the next election cycle.
Okay.
By the way, that Voting Rights Act only applies to those states who were in a former rebellion 150 years ago. It does not apply to those states that were not members
The
of that
aggressors.
Confederacy.
The aggressors.
You're kidding, David. I mean, is that really true?
Yes, it only applies to the
I
southern
did not know
states.
that.
Interesting. All right.
So it doesn't cover any mismanagement in Chicago, is what you're saying.
No, but that would be a good thing to pursue. And in Indiana too.
Do I still have time to move before we do this?
All right, any other questions for Randy? Even though I'm
I
not
got,
sure.
I
we
got a
put one
question
anywhere.
about this, knowing what ward you belong to. I've been here going on 8 years, and I've got people, including today, that want to know if I knew anything about paper being put in the mailbox about her barbecuing in the front yard. I said, what street are you on? And I said, well, you're not in my ward. And I don't know how you get the message out to them. I think some of them probably take the mail as junk mail and don't read it. But I think the key to it is when if they vote, they'll know what ward they're in then.
Yeah, the clerk's office has the official ward map for the city on display. She always keeps it in there. Before the clerk was moved up into the planning and development office, we also kept a copy on display. I do believe it is online, but other than that, I guess there could be a separate address list made for every address in the city stating what ward it's in. But again, that's what the voter registrations office already does. Now, we can see about getting their list.
Well, you got a lot of people that don't vote, so that's another problem.
Okay, so relative to the redistricting, is there any other questions for Randy? Thank you. We will open up a public hearing in the event that somebody here would like to make comment on this potential change, or this forthcoming change on the voting wards. Anybody wish to step forward may do so at this time. And seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. There's no vote required or no vote necessary tonight. We'll take this up for other consideration. There'll be another public hearing 2 weeks from tonight, and we'll take it up for consideration at our next council meeting on the 16th or 17th, whatever date that is. 16th, thank you. All right, next item is a budget ordinance for fiscal year 2011-12. Mr. Reinhardt.
Mayor and Council, as a result of our budget work session held on May the 9th, I was asked to provide 2 scenarios to be discussed and looked at tonight. These are both for the budget. One scenario includes the hiring of 12 firefighters, additional firefighters, and the other scenario includes those 12 firefighters plus the possibility of salary increases. So with that, we'll get started. First scenario, as you can see, has an increase of approximately $14,500,000 or 10.23%. The increase is largely due to capital items. I believe the capital total on my head is somewhere about $12 million. This scenario does show it is balanced. Also shows no city property tax increase. It continues the 5-year capital plan. Has an increase in water and sewer rates, which I'll discuss later on. Has debt issued in the water fund, debt issued in the SPLOST fund. It incorporates the recycling program, and it adds 15 positions. 1 in solid waste for half of the year for the recycling program, 1 in stormwater, 1 in public works, and the 12 firefighters. This slide is a comparison of the 2012 versus 2011, broken down by the fund types. The bigger areas I wanted to point out to you is the water and sewer fund with $4.2 billion increase, and the SPLOST funds, SPLOST 2003 with a $1.5 million increase, and SPLOST 2007 with a $6.5 million increase. The next slide shows comparison by type or by the categories. You can see that the personnel from 2012 versus 2011 increased $782,000. This is due mainly to increased health care and retirement cost. The operating cost also increased $2.1 million. Purchase commodities decreased a little bit. School board appropriations decreased a little bit. The bigger capital item down there is the increase of $12.8 million. Next. The next slide is a comparison of the last 8 years' budget with the proposed 2012 scenario 1 budget. You can see that in 2009 we were at $169.5 million. We decreased in 2010 and 2011, and in the 2012 projected scenario 1 goes to $157 million, just slightly over that. And in scenario number 2, I apologize for my slides. They're calling it a raise, and it should be salary adjustments. So if I say raise, I actually should mean salary adjustments. This scenario, like I said earlier, has to do with the hiring of 12 firefighters and includes salary adjustments. The increase here is $15.276 million, or 10.72%. Again, in this budget scenario, the positives are it is balanced. There's no city property tax increase. Continues the 5-year plan. There is a slight increase for water and sewer rates. There is some debt issued for the water fund and also the SPLOST funds. The cycling program is incorporated, and there are 15 positions added, and also salary increases. This slide illustrates the budget comparison. Again, you can see the general fund changes by $2.8 million. Larger funds, water and sewer fund, also $4.29 million, and then the 2 SPLOST funds also have big increases. The next slide illustrates the budget comparisons by category. You'll see that the personnel is a larger item than it was in scenario 1. It's up to $1.68 million increase. Operating is a $1.9 million increase, and again the capital is again $12.8 million increase. And once again, the last 8 years comparison. This slide does show the 2012 year slightly going to $157.7 million instead of $157.0 million. From this point forward, we'll be talking about both scenarios. This is a slide illustrating the actual staffing levels and the proposed 2012 staffing levels. You can see we're at a high in 2009 of 367 people or employees. We decreased it in 2010 and 2011 at 345, and the projected is calling for a 15 employee increase to total of 360 people.
If I may, Tom,
Yes.
the increase there on the personnel numbers, the lion's share of that is to staff the new fire
That is correct.
stations.
There's
And,
12 folks involved in that.
kind of keep our promise to the voters in building the new one on MLK and then the combined police and fire over at Cartersville Road.
Correct.
Thank you.
Next slide illustrates the capital projects budget summary comparison. Some of the bigger areas are like I mentioned in the past, the SPLOST accounts or the SPLOST funds combined total of $8 million increase. Solid waste with the recycling program, we're increasing that by $485,000. Water and sewer, we're increasing the capital in that area at $4.6 million. And then the grant funds are increasing overall a little over $1 million. Along with that, both scenarios also have incorporated city-county cooperation. We share the cost of the grant writer. We share the cost of the Keep America Beautiful program. We have city-county mapping and phone system, and we have economic development that we also share. And the last slide reflects the outside agency history and funding. This is another area that I need some guidance unless you folks are happy with the way I have it designed. But you can see the first column, the requested amount was total $793,000. I left it the same as it was for the 2011 budget at $784,200. And with that, that is my presentation. As you can see, there are funds available for salary increases and adjustments, and discussion is still ongoing.
Tom, if I may, and I don't want to belabor the point on the personnel numbers we have back on the other slide, we discussed it, and those are for adding additional firefighters for number 4. We've also applied for a SAFER grant that if we got that, it'd pay for 2 years of that. The increase in capital is largely SPLOST projects that we're doing, and that's not, we don't need to get confused, it's not about SPLOST revenue growing itself. These were SPLOST funds that we had on hand, and now we're beginning to implement some of those projects, and that's a big growth piece in the budget.
Very, very much, yes.
Okay. And also, on your last slide, just to clarify with council, we are drawing those contracts to the community agencies, and we're basing that on last year's numbers as he's outlined. And if you all want any of those changed, we probably need to know shortly because those will be on the next agenda. Right.
Do we have consensus that those levels are fine where they are?
Fine with that.
Not the request.
I'm talking about the same levels that they were at last year. We have consensus, or do we need to?
Okay, by me.
Okay. Well, there's some direction on that one.
Thank you.
It's been very little of it tonight, but you got it done that.
Careful.
Any is better than none.
All right. Any questions for Tom on the budget presentation?
Could you just remind me one more time, the 3 additional positions that aren't firefighters are for what?
One in stormwater, one in public works, and one will be in solid waste for half the year. And that individual will be part of the recycling crew.
And that will start in January if it moves forward. All right,
Do
thank
we
you.
have the piece in here on the comparisons of the utility rates?
No, the only utility I've got is the water, because it's the only ordinance that's changing.
Okay, can we plug those back in for a second reading so folks can see that? I think that we need to consistently put the message out there that we are local, high-quality service, and when you compare them to our competitors, that we're lower than they
I will incorporate those in
Thank
the
you.
second reading.
Okay. Is there any discussion about this first reading of the budget ordinance?
Mayor, Mr. Grove mentioned capital projects, and since quite a bit of our personnel discussion is fire department, also in police, public safety, period, new building. Also under capital projects are 2 new fire trucks, 5 new police vehicles. Anyway, just to point out what we are actually looking at under capital projects.
And well, it's interesting that you mentioned that too. The police vehicles, that those will continue to be funded by the DEA, the seized assets and forfeiture money. So that's not something that the taxpayers pay for. That's something that the bad guys continue to pay for.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Thank you, Tom. Once again, we'll take this up, we'll have a second reading at our next meeting and vote on the budget for next year. Third item that is another first reading is an amendment to the utilities ordinance that we just touched on. So Tom, why don't you move forward with that?
As I mentioned earlier, there is a slight increase for the water and sewer rate. It equates out to about a 5% increase. It is due to increased operations and maintenance cost. It equates out to about $1.50 per month for average residential customer, and this is based on the 7,500 gallons consumed. Even though we are raising this, we will remain one of the lowest rates in the surrounding areas. It is not associated with a decrease in capacity fees that was implemented last year. And the tiered rates that has been, I guess, a sort of a topic here lately, have been mandated by the state in effect in efforts to conserve the water.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for, those, yeah.
And this is a slide of the proposed current. If you go to the first two areas, the far to the left, the current Cartersville rate and then the proposed rate. You'll see that the only one really that's lower than us is Dalton Utilities. Everybody else is higher than us.
And this is for commercial customers,
Now,
not
this is
residential.
residential.
It
Residential.
says commercial at the top, so I'm trying to determine,
It should say residential, I apologize. That's a typo.
and you do not have one of those strictly for commercial.
Correct.
There is in your email.
Okay.
There is in response to your question, and if that's helpful to you, we could try to do one of these for those too.
Okay.
With that, I have nothing else.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Tom or otherwise? I'll just say, we have to say it every year, but, the strategy has always been to do a 5% incremental increase every year, and, you'll hear it probably in the fall and maybe even this summer, that some city that hasn't had an increase for 4 or 5 years hits the residents with a 30 or 40% or 20, some large amount of increase in their bills, and nobody likes increasing bills. Everybody up here's got to pay them too, but I think incrementally and taking it $1.50 at a time, 5% every year is desirable over having 25% increase a few years down the road. So, thank you, Tom. Good job. All right, once again, we'll vote on that ordinance at our next meeting. We have a series of bid award purchases now. The first one is for demolition of a habitat, for the Habitat Project. Sam.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, this would have otherwise been handled by Tom. Tom List on my staff, he and his wife Bitsy had a baby last night, so I want to congratulate them. This is relative to the project with the Habitat for Humanity that we received CDBG funding for. I believe there were 7 homes initially in this program. This is for demolition of 2, one at 407 Johnson and one at 26 Martin Luther King Drive. The low bid for those is Cornerstone Demolition in the amount of $79.50, and staff recommends your approval of that bid.
That is just for one of the homes, though, correct?
I think it's for both. That's a cost for both. We continue to negotiate on the second. What's the item say, Mayor?
Page 28.
It says 2.
Oh, it says 2?
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe that's for 2.
I stand corrected. Any discussion on this bid or purchase? If not, Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. We've got a commercial mower for Public Works. Mr. Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've got, actually, these next 2 items were projected to be purchased in our next fiscal year budget. We decided to go ahead this year and do it. The first item is a zero-turn 60-inch cut commercial mower. We solicited bids, proposals from 4 local vendors here. Bartow Farm and Lawn bid John Deere at $10,380. Taylor Farm Supply bid Skag at $10,884. Franklin Tractor bid Toro at $8,930. And Action Rental bid Exmark at $9,131. It's been 10 years since we bought a mower. The ones we've got are getting a little bit tired. We would like to recommend the low bid from Franklin Tractor on the Toro unit for $8,930. E-Verify and save documentation is current and on file.
Any questions? Okay. If not, Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the bid from Franklin Tractor.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Continue on, please, Mr. Elliott.
Also, Mr. Mayor, as I stated earlier, this unit was also projected for next year, but we went forward with it. Unfortunately, we were not able to solicit 4 local bidders on this, but we did get 4. Spalding Manufacturing Company bid $29,530. HD Industries bid $43,735. Marathon Equipment Incorporated bid $46,001. And Step Manufacturing bid $36,388.24. We'd also like to recommend the low bidder, and this unit is a 4-ton unit that when we patch potholes and cuts, we go to the asphalt plant, we open the top doors, we take 4 tons of asphalt, close the doors. The unit is heat controlled. We can keep the asphalt hot throughout the day while we're patching holes. The 2-ton unit that we've got has gotten so small that we're having a lot of days to make 2 trips back to Kennesaw to get asphalt, and we just run out of time. We don't have time to do it. So we're going to keep the 2-ton unit and use it for a backup, but we really need this 4-ton unit to get the job done. E-Verify and save documentation is on file. My projected budget estimate for next year for this unit was $30,000. We got under it barely, but we did get under it. And again, we'd like to recommend the low bidder from Spalding Manufacturing, $29,530.
Okay. Any questions on this item?
May I have a question? Bobby, I guess there are not any local vendors, but this particular, if council approves it, comes out of Michigan?
Yes.
What do we do about warranty, repair? I mean, I'm sure it does have a warranty, but what about repair?
In this particular case, the one we're recommending does have a local dealer here that we can get warranty work done. We just chose to buy direct because we got a better price. And this does include freight too, so it's all.
Okay. Any other discussion? Feel free. Make a motion if you want to.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Mr. Molinax, you've got the next item, please, sir.
Mayor, Council. We received bids from 3 separate local contractors for the installation of approximately 250 feet of 24-inch and 30-inch diameter pipe at our water pollution control plant. This is for a modification that will improve the efficiency of the plant during stormwater events. We recommend approval of the low bid submitted by C&L Contractors in the amount of $15,900. We do have the E-Verify and save documentation in hand. This will be paid for with capacity fees.
Okay. Any questions on that item? If not, Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the low bid.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Ed. We do have an item to add. Council, Chair will entertain a motion to add that item to the agenda.
Motion to add that item to the agenda.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And the item is added. Mr. Elliott, once again.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I guess, everybody's familiar with the devastating tornadoes that ripped our county back on April 27th. We offered some assistance to the county, some vehicles and some employees, operators, to help them get a lot of the stuff cleaned up. And we're getting ready to apply to FEMA for some reimbursement. And this document is a post-event agreement between the city of Cartersville and Bartow County that we have to have in place before we can submit for reimbursement. As you can see, I wrote the numbers and I calculated our equipment hours and our equipment dollars and our salaries that we looking to get back from FEMA. And we recommend approval.
Okay.
Mayor, I'm mighty proud of them jumping in and helping, and David Archer brought that to the attention earlier tonight. Whether it's rescue or helping with tornado cleanup, I mean, we seem to jump right in, and I really appreciate it. Bobby, I hope the Public Works guys hear that.
They will, yes, ma'am. The tornado did damage, I had several employees in North Park of it that had damage as well, so.
Motion to
Still waiting for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Sorry.
Do it myself, but I can't. All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Any other items that need to come before council this evening?
Let me add something there, and I don't think that I got to do this under the budget item, but I appreciate all the staff and your hard work on that. We couldn't do it without you. I didn't want to let this opportunity pass without mentioning that. Thank you for your hard work.
Anything
We've
else?
got a big concert Saturday night. The Tams are coming to town, and that's one of our biggest turnouts. A lot of people come to the city of Cartersville for that, and so everybody be welcome.
Very good. Any other business? If not, chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Jace. We're adjourned. I didn't get a harumph out of that guy, but we're done.
Not require a second?